I'm in the city today at one of my curacy churches. It's lunchtime and normally it's absolutely bustling in the city, but today people are moving around, but it's quite quiet. And it's a strange time at the moment, and it's a time of uncertainty and fear. I know I'm tempted to feel anxious, particularly for the vulnerable people that I love. And I've been focusing a little bit on Psalm 46, and it's been really helping and encouraging me. So I thought I might share some of those encouragements in the hope that they're helpful for you. And it's a really amazing psalm. It's divided into 3 chunks. I thought I'd do a little 1 chunk a day type thing. So I'm just going to read those first few verses for you. And it's a psalm that talks about kind of when everything's going wrong, when the whole world, when creation is falling apart, what do you do? And it turns out that God is the only one who doesn't fall apart, and he's the one where security is to be found. So let me just read those first few verses. It says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth should change, though the mountains shake in the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble with its tumult. So the writer is thinking about the times when creation seems to be shaken, when things like mountains, which are normally completely stable, start to vibrate, perhaps because of an earthquake or a volcano erupting, and when the sea, which is often in Hebrew thought the source of, or a place which is very chaotic, when chaos starts to reign in the earth. That's a frightening time. I've never been in an earthquake, but I have a relative who has been. I understand it's a frightening place to be when something that you normally imagine to be completely stable starts to shake. But the writer is saying that even when something like that happens, even when the very ground that you normally rely on is shaken, he says, we will not fear, which is quite an extraordinary thing to say. But he says, so the question is, well, why? Why should we not fear when those things happen? And obviously the answer, as we've heard, is in the first verse. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, because of that, we will not fear. So I wanted to take each of those 3 things that the writer says about God and think about why that should help us. And the first one is that God is our refuge. God is a place of safety where we can be protected. I don't know where your place of safety is, whether you have an actual room or a place where you feel safe and secure. God is like that, kind of on a much bigger scale. Imagine yourself in that safe place. That is what God can be like for us. A place where we are safe and protected. Not necessarily always physically, of course. It's not making promises in that way, but it is saying that certainly spiritually speaking, our lives are kept safe by God. So it says that God is our refuge and our strength. The other day I was trying to open a jar of gherkins, I think it was. I do quite like gherkins. And slightly frustratingly, I couldn't open it because I wasn't strong enough. And so I had to wait for Greg to come home and open the jar of gherkins, which of course he was able to do. And in that moment, Greg was my strength. I wasn't strong enough to open the jar of gherkins, but Greg was. And again, God is like that, but on so much more. That where we are weak, which is actually much more often than we like to think, God is our strength. He is the one who is strong enough to step in and deal with the things that we're not strong enough to deal with. And then lastly, he's a very present help in trouble. I find that so encouraging, that God is not on the periphery. He's not sort of at a distance looking on, but he is totally engaged with what's happening in our nation, in our world, in our lives, and he is committed to being there, to being with us in it. And as we'll see later in the psalm, he's very much in control. So those 3 things: God is our refuge, he's our safe place, he is our strength, he's the one who is strong enough to do the things that we are not, and he is with us, present, engaged, committed to what's happening around us, and is with us. Therefore we will not fear. I hope that gives you some encouragement today.